He was a real blessing to us. And in fact, a couple of different doctors had suggested, why don't we put our son into a home and let us get on with our wife? Why should we take care of it? And I don't agree with that one bit.
Doctors kept trying to tell us that we need to just put him in a home, that he wasn't going to be able to do anything, and we need to just put him in a home. And I just couldn't do that. He was my child, and there's no way I was going to put him in a home where he was just treated like another disabled person and not given the care and the love that he needed.
Brandon has been a very a significant blessing in our lives, and we just love to take care of him. Everybody loves him. When he was just previous to when he was dying, he was in the nursing home for 2 months, and the nurses in the nursing home just loved him.
I'm really gonna miss, just always being consistently Brandon, and
Brandon just loved to hold standard bottle caps in his hand. He sometimes put 2, maybe 3 in his hands, both hands, and he did that for the longest time. He had a container that was fit down at the bottom of his bed. We had a shelf down there, and this was down at the bottom of the bed, full of bottle caps. And he knew sometimes when we go to school in the morning, he had a bottle cap in his hand, and he knew he couldn't take it with him, and he'd turn around and crawl on his and put the bottle cap back in here. And again, he couldn't see. He did it on his own. And then when he'd get home, he'd go and find this down at the bottom of his bed and get a bottle cap out, or 2 or 3, and put them in both hands. He was in the intensive care for about 2 weeks in the hospital because he had an infected knee, and it turned into sepsis and pneumonia. When he got out of the hospital, this is approximately 2 to 3 months ago, he was discharged to a nursing home here locally in Bloomington, and he was in the nursing home for nearly 2 months. And he was released from the nursing home. He had essentially recuperated and everything to everybody's satisfaction, and he was sent home. He went home, and everything was just fine. He was having a great time being home and crawling around and everything. But on Sunday, following him getting out of the nursing home on Tuesday, I noticed he was not feeling too well. He was kind of lethargic. He wasn't drinking his milk properly, and Monday morning he was feeling pretty bad, and we were to take him back into the hospital on Tuesday to get his feeding tube replaced, which we're having some problems with. So we took him in there and did that. The doctor who put in the feeding tube noticed that his stomach was kind of distended, and it was warm to the touch and everything, and he suggested that he called the emergency room doctor in to take a look at him. And so we ended up taking him into the emergency. This is Bloomington Hospital, and he was admitted to Bloomington Hospital into the emergency area. And then he was sent from there up to the intensive care. This is on Tuesday, and I stayed there with him all night long. The next morning, I went home to take a shower, and I got a call I stayed there until about 7:30. I got a call from the doctor about 10:30 or thereabouts. The doctor was warning us that his blood pressure was dropping, that you better get in here. And so I did. I went in there and got in. If I'm not mistaken, this is about 12 o'clock or thereabouts when I got back in there after going. And then the doctor said that we need to talk. He invited me into a room, and I actually got a recording of this, and it was describing the problems that he had. And the doctor mentioned this took about 7 minutes, a little after about 12:30 on Wednesday afternoon. And he said that we don't expect Brandon to last the day. Now at that time, when I finished that, I went back into Brandon, and his blood pressure was dropping at that time, his pulse rate and everything. And my wife called at that time, Sharon, was wanting to know how he was doing, and I said that he is not doing very good. And she started to cry. And while I had Mom, Sharon on the phone, Brandon passed away. And I was watching all the instruments, and the portion of the monitoring equipment that monitors his heartbeat just essentially stopped. There was no trace on the screen. So I watched him die. And then I noticed that, going back to the business with the bottle caps, he had a bottle cap in his hand when he died. And this is the picture that we see of his hand with his bottle cap. He had actually passed away in about 5 minutes previous to that with this bottle cap in his hand.
There's a mansion on a hill where you reside in heaven. No more tears, hurt, or pain. No more thunder or rain in heaven. You're dancing in heaven now. Dancing in heaven. Many years we've shared, and oh, how much I've cared for you. Oh, but nothing's really changed. You're just on the other side of the river. You're dancing in the river now. Oh, you're dancing. You're dancing in the river now. Oh, you're dancing by the river. One day I'll be with you, but for now I have his work to do. This is just a moment in the folds of time. So your eternity is now, and my todays go on down here.